I want to thank everybody for coming. And we're so excited to have everybody. This has been a really fun way for us to be able to connect with everybody through this time, even though we can't be together. We feel like we've been able to put together a lot of really relevant educational items for everybody. And the digital meetings have allowed us to reach more attendees than we did in our in-person events, and to bring in a more diverse group of speakers and topics. So, you know, we're here for everybody. We're going to continue doing as much educational content as we can, and it feels good to know that we really are all in this together and that we'll make it out of it together. So we'll keep doing these as long as we can, as long as we need to, until we are able to gather again. But today we're going to talk about how our online reputation trends have changed in light of COVID-19, and how your hotel or venue can maximize the kind of downtime that we've all had and prepare for the new guest expectations and experience. Constantine and Jill are going to go over online reputation trends such as review volume, sources, monitoring feedback, and the new guest experience and their expectations. And then we'll also prepare for the new guest and how to exceed the expectations with less staff and less budget. So before we do that, I want to go over and remind everybody that HSMAI Global is constantly monitoring the current stages of reopening and recovery across the globe and updating the website here. They have a special coronavirus website that you can go to. The link is up here. I'll also put it in the chat for everybody at the end, and we can send it out with the recording and the survey that you'll be receiving. So take a chance to go there, take a look and see what other areas and other regions are doing. The other thing that they are doing is trying to post as many other regional schedules as possible. And I encourage everybody to try to get on some webinars while they're still free and see what other areas are doing, because depending on where they're at, everything's a little bit different. And then we have our upcoming events. So we'll be doing another social hour, which was pretty fun. The last one that we did, July 8th, we'll be doing a buyer enablement talk with Holly Zoba. That is a different time for us. That's at 9 a.m. On July 22nd, we're partnering with HSMAI Los Angeles and doing a star report and forecast covering all of Southern California. So that one is going to be a real eye-opener, I think. We'll be getting information all the way through June. So we'll see some of what other regions have done in reopening. And then at the end of the month, we'll do another social hour. So before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to thank Shiji Group and Review Pro for participating with us today. Besides our two speakers, there's also several attendees on our session from their group, and we of course want to thank everybody, all of them and all of everyone for supporting HSMAI and the San Diego chapter. And I'd like to first introduce Constantine Kachazi. We just went over that, and I'm still sure that I said it wrong, Constantine. I'm so sorry.
Did it just right.
Okay. Constantine's been in the hospitality industry, sales executive with Review Pro for over 5 years. He does bring experience in SaaS technology, hotel operations, and accounting. In his current role, he is responsible for providing guest intelligence software to hoteliers, primarily along the West Coast. Prior to joining Review Pro, he held sales and operations positions at No Cross, Choice Hotels, and Stay in Touch. He successfully helped manage and build out SDR teams, analyze and administer Salesforce for global sales, leading teams through different markets to achieve their goals and key performance indicators. He is a strong hospitality leader and loves the hotel industry. So we are thankful to have him. Thank you, Constantine.
Thank you for having me.
Our second speaker is Jill Boegel. Jill is the Vice President of Sales for Shiji Group for North America, and she's an accomplished hotel industry professional with nearly 30 years of experience in technology sales, revenue management, and operations. Her current role, she leads the expansion of Shiji Group in North America and is responsible for developing and executing growth strategies for the portfolio solutions in the region. Prior to joining Shiji, she held leadership positions at Sendine, TSA Solutions, TravelClick, Hilton Hotels, sorry, Jill. And she's been a recognized leader and won many awards in sales and revenue management. So now I'm going to turn it over to them. Thank you guys both for joining us.
Excellent, thank you. Very happy to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to share my PowerPoint. And if it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna shut the video to keep distractions down and keep focus on the content. But wanted to start off first and foremost by thanking our partners at HSMAI for the opportunity to be here today. And thank you everyone for joining. So let me go ahead and put things in presentation mode and share my screen. Okay, little check. Heather, Constantine, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. All right, so since we've already covered the agenda today, thank you, Heather, for that. We'll just dive in and wanted to give a little context behind who we are in case you're not familiar, so you can have a good lens from where we're bringing you the data that we're going to talk about today. So a little bit about ReviewPro. As Heather mentioned, ReviewPro is part of Shiji. Shiji was founded in 1998, and we have been providing hotels, food and beverage, travel and entertainment, and retail industries globally with technology solutions and platforms that help our partners to reconnect with their guests and enhance how consumers eat, sleep, shop, play, and pay. As you can see from our solutions wheel on the left, our solutions touch all areas of the guest journey and help hotels to operate more efficiently. Now, post-COVID, we're helping partners to get back to business. Our professional services teams are assisting them with bringing technology back online after hotel shutdowns, and we are providing solutions to support their new objectives of providing a contactless guest experience through the booking, stay, and dine journeys. ReviewPro specifically was founded in 2009 and became part of the Shiji Group in 2017. We serve hotel partners around 60,000 plus globally, and our partners span over hotels, restaurants, destinations, hotel ownership groups, management and representation companies, as well as other third-party technology partners that you may be working with today. With the information we collect and the insights generated, we help our clients to adjust their operational service priorities to be able to action guest feedback. Our suite of tools include online reputation management and a guest survey platform, both supported with case management and workflow tools. We also provide omni-channel guest messaging and an AI chatbot. But enough about us. Let's go ahead and dive into what you guys came here for today, which is the online reputation trends for the San Diego market. So what you can see here is a representation of 153 properties in San Diego. Now we pulled 3, 4, and 5-star properties, and we used the date range for all of these slides to compare March 1st through June 15th of 2020 compared to the same time last year. As you can see, the review volume has dramatically decreased, and I'm sure that is not a surprise to anyone on the call. For the market, it's down 77.5%, and we can absolutely see where the dive took its, the dive began in mid-March when the shutdowns began. When it comes to online reputation management, it's very important that you consistently monitor several key metrics, and we're sharing those here with you today for the market, again, comparing to last year. The first thing that we look at is what we call the GRI, or the Global Review Index. Now, this is a proprietary trademark algorithm that we developed, which has also been endorsed by Cornell University. And what this represents is how, in this case, the market is performing across all of the different review sites that we have collected data. There has been a slight decrease in the GRI over the last 3-month time period, in addition to what we already saw in the last slide, which is a dramatic drop in review volume. So when we look at these next few slides, we're going to be talking about just 11,227 reviews over this time period. But just because review volume is down, it doesn't mean it's any less important, and we'll talk more about that as we move through the presentation. The next metric that we look at and we'll share some details on is semantics. And so this represents the split of positive, neutral, and negative mentions in reviews. The market has seen a dip from 69.9 to 69% in positive mentions. And then on the positive trend we see here is that the management responses have increased. So while review volume is down, it's good to see that the hotels who've been open and receiving reviews have increased their response rates to consumers. Here I wanted to break down for you what it looks like across the different segments so that you can take a look at the segment that your property fits in. You know, the 5-star hotels rank super high in GRI, as well as positive mentions, but it's very low volume, likely a product of their properties not being open or being very slim in operations over the last 3 months. Whereas our 4-star and our 3-star properties are pretty close when it comes to GRI. The volume is definitely highest in the 3-star set. But as we look at that set, if your property falls there, it's going to be really important to understand, are you also falling into the category of a decline in positive mentions? You can see the semantic analysis for the 3 stars ranks the lowest of the 3 different star sets when it comes to positive mentions at 66.5%. Because competition is good, just wanted to share with you who the current top ranked properties in the market are, ranked by GRI. So if you want to take a look and see if any of your hotel is here or your competition's here, it's always really good to understand not just how you're performing on reviews that are online, but also what's happening in your competitive set. The review distribution for San Diego is interesting. If you haven't looked at this statistic for your property, would encourage you to do so. We can see, as we've seen through the last slides, that the volume for each of the different review sites and review sources is down. For San Diego, what we are seeing that is an interesting trend is that the OTAs of Expedia, Booking.com, and Hotels.com are running lower positive mentions than Google and TripAdvisor. So looking into the mentions and the specific semantics behind your reviews will help you understand what is the reason driving that. We have seen in many cases that this is directly related to change in cancellation policies, which are inconsistent from what the hotel is perhaps providing to their guests through this process. You may also, take a look at what are your direct booking strategies through this process and figure out if there are other things that you want to put in place, such as providing one-click booking and payment for your guests through their digital wallet. Just giving you some thoughts of things that you can put into action as you look into your own reviews to understand what is the source of the negative mentions and how that varies by the different distribution channels. For the distribution mix of positive and negative reviews, while we did see an increase in positive, and I do apologize, the percentages here were representative through May 31st. I went ahead and pulled stats through June for all the slides except for this one, but the trend is still very much the same. What this really illustrates for you is the negative increase, the increase in negative mentions. So just again, highlighting the importance of understanding and digging into what the context is behind each of your reviews, not just what your overall scores are. Another important metric that you can, and piece of information you can dig into when you're looking at your online reviews is what are the different buying personas and how have those different buying personas needs changed in light of COVID. Now, when we looked at statistics from 2019 compared to what you see here on the screen for 2020, family, couple, business, it's the same order of ranking of the percent of reviews that we're receiving. Family last year was at 38%, whereas now it's at 28.5%. But wanted to put this up here so that you can, take away some thoughts that how do you approach and how do you communicate to the different personas and what's most important to them post-COVID. Understanding, what the family guest is looking for versus the business traveler during these times will help you with the communication in your marketing strategy as you segment out your business and look to attract guests to come visit you post-COVID. So these next couple of slides are interesting. We just pulled a sampling of some of the specific comments that were coming into San Diego over the last 3 months for both positive and negative reviews. And what you can see here is that there are some nice positive mentions on how hotels have responded and implemented new protocols. We also took a look at some of the negative comments, and right now with less reviews, more visibility on the reviews you have, I would say that it's more critical now than ever to not have negative comments, and if you do, to action those, which we'll talk about in the upcoming section. You can see some of the concerns that guests pointed out here, things from challenges with the changes in cancellation policy, changes to breakfast options, and more importantly, not communicating what those changes were in advance, and a feeling that the hotel team was not prepared to manage the new guest expectations. Now this slide, I didn't want to call out any one hotel in particular, so I left it with a generic slide from our demo site, but making sure that as you're looking into your property, you're also keeping a strong pulse on the competition. So if you don't have a tool to do this, make sure that you have a process in place to understand how your competitive set is performing. What are guests saying about their properties, their protocols, their changes? Specifically look for mentions of the virus for both you and your competitive set. As you understand that information, it'll really help you to understand what guests perceive about your property, your value proposition, and ultimately impact your ability to capture guests at the pricing that you desire. So we'll go ahead now and move into the section on the new guest expectations and share with you some survey and research results on what guests are expecting. So this first slide represents data that we collected in May of 2020 from our global survey of hoteliers, and it was conducted in partnership with Fuel Marketing. I'm thinking this is probably not a surprise and consistent with what many of you are feeling today, that 72% of the hoteliers we collected data from believe that the guest expectations and behaviors will permanently change post-COVID, so that this is not something that the things that they're looking to implement today are not specific to COVID only. They're actually going to be lasting strategies that they need to continue to fine tune as we move through this process. And this is an interesting but not surprising slide from the Fuel Marketing study that was conducted, in which they asked consumers, what is the first word that you think of when considering travel right now? And these were the most popular words. The survey they conducted prior to COVID had a much different set of words: happy, peaceful, safe, enjoyment, relaxation. So just kind of really resonating what I'm sure you already know is today's guests want to feel safe. They want to know that they are choosing a hotel that has implemented new protocols for safety, hygiene, cleanliness, and social distancing. To really, kind of bring home and drive home the point of some of these surveys is we went through our database of about 5,000 global hotels and found 3 key topics that really resonated. And these are just some examples of quotes from guests that they've posted in their online reviews. So the first theme that was very prevalent was health and safety. And you can see comments here related to cleanliness, to hygiene, to the staff wearing masks for safety. The second topic that came up, which customer service has always been a priority for the new guests, dating myself back to the 90s when I was director of front office operations. It's not that it was any less important back then, but the sensitivity of our customers today has changed significantly. What you can see here are some specific call outs and how the teams at the hotel have handled concerns that came up or were addressed, their preparedness and readiness to be able to engage with the guest according to your property's expectations and to what the new guests expect. You can see in here some comments specifically regarding the pain point of cancellation and refund policies. And just when a staff is flexible and accommodating and welcoming, it definitely has a positive impact, especially in times like these. The other topic that came up quite a bit in the reviews and the comments that we looked through was food and beverage. And not that food and beverage, some of your hotels, it's always been a very important part of your experience. But now more than ever, it's taken on a new level of importance. You guys are being forced to come up with solutions in lieu of breakfast buffets, providing options to guests for grab and go and contactless ordering and dining that is completely different than how we've provided that experience before. What you can see here in some specific comments is that the feedback from guests indicating not just what you've changed, but how important it is that you communicate in advance of booking an arrival, what you've done on property, and if you don't have options on property, what's available to them in the local market. So this is a slide from a study that we conducted back in April. We did a series of hotelier talks based on episodes based on cleanliness. And during these sessions, hoteliers were asked whether they had implemented or would be implementing any cleaning or cleaning practices because of COVID. As expected, over 75% of hoteliers implemented or had plans to implement signage on site, increased housekeeping staff, and training for new staff on the new protocols. I thought it was pretty interesting that only 74% plan to communicate externally about hygiene protocols. And while that's a pretty high number, what I think you've probably seen through the last couple of slides, and as we'll continue to move forward, you'll hear customers want to know. They want to know what you're doing, and the way you communicate with them is extremely important. They're looking for reassurance in their booking selection process and want to be communicated to once they have selected your hotel so that they can be confident and comfortable with their travels. So we know from the trends that priorities and concerns have changed. And just before we move into the next section about best practices, wanted to have you think about how has this mindset impacted your current plans. It's been obviously a tough few months around the world and in your market, and we're hoping the worst is behind us. I was really excited as I was preparing for this meeting last week to see that as of last Friday, the hotels in San Diego were cleared to open for leisure travel. But the pandemic has definitely changed how people think about travel in ways that could fundamentally change the makeup of the guests in hotels, at least in the short term. And in addition, the usual needs and expectations of their travel priorities. So when it comes to safety, they're looking for assurance that you're taking precautions against the virus spreading. They're looking for an escape, a place to be relaxed and have personal space, privacy, and get some recovery. They're looking for value. And a lot of people have been out of work and struggling. The economy is struggling. They're being more careful about their options and choices and where they're going to spend their money. As we saw in the comments, looking for flexibility and change in cancellation policies and, having good support and service from the property when travel disruptions occur. And then the local travel, as we all know, is increasing. People are staying closer to home and still wary about air travel. So they're looking to do more drive vacations, staycations. So how can you be prepared? We'll move into some insights now with regards to your online reputation management and things that you can do to be prepared for the new guest experience. So the first thing is activating your solutions you have in place. And from the lens of reputation management, this would be including this includes your post-stay and your in-stay surveys. Interestingly enough, we polled a large percentage of our hotels and looked at what our actual customers were doing, and less than half of them were actually using in-stay surveys. So if you're not using in-stay surveys, this is definitely something we recommend you consider adding to your strategy to capture guest feedback and respond before they check out. For both your in-stay and your post-stay surveys, we recommend not just reactivating them as they are, rather review the content, make specific changes, be specific in the questions you're asking them. Make sure you're asking them if they're happy with the cleanliness. Would they like anything additional to make their stay more comfortable? Did you feel safe during your stay? It may seem a little scary to ask those questions, but getting very specific feedback through your own surveys is going to be very important to you as you continue to monitor the situation and the protocols that you've put into place. Guest experience, as I mentioned, with the lower reviews, while it's lower, they should absolutely not be dismissed. They'll be part of the consideration process now more than ever. It's important that you're managing your online reputation and your guest surveys from a lens that is very sensitive and focused on their new expectations. I've been doing this for a long time, as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, and on the marketing side of the business for quite some time. And I never imagined we'd be talking about hygiene marketing, but here we are. And it is obviously, the leading topic as we are now in 2020 after, coming out of COVID. We will share a little bit more in an upcoming slide about some insights as to what travelers specifically want to hear about. So keeping on top of your feedback, making sure that you know how your guests are feeling, how your team and property are doing in the implementation of the new processes and protocols will help you to identify where you need to fine tune your strategy. Guests are going to be turning to online reviews now than ever before. They're going to be looking at them to understand what will be the new protocol, what other guests have said. And this is really an important stage in the process when they're looking to make their selection. They'll also be looking at your management responses, and we see this as an opportunity to communicate your protocols and the status of the service. And you want to make sure that, if guests are mentioning things like the new breakfast experience within the reviews, that you are using things, that this is an opportunity to elaborate on your new offerings. This obviously is the same for anything related to safety and hygiene. So starting out with management responses and your best practices, a couple of years ago, TripAdvisor engaged ComScore to complete a study of over 2 million TripAdvisor users. In the study, they found that 65% of TripAdvisor users said they would choose one hotel over another solely based on management response. So if you haven't, really paid a lot of attention to management response, or your responses are less, I'd say less than 50%, if not 100%, it's definitely time to reconsider that. The other thing that really impacts is the review volume. It's very key to the algorithms that's used on review websites. In the same study, it showed that hotels who had a strategy in place to increase review collection benefited from higher page views and saw an increase of 32% in conversion. So with that in mind, it's time to look at or implement, if you don't have them already in place, your current workflows and processes around your online reputation management. For example, who was responding to your negative COVID-related reviews? You may want to shift that to have your GM respond versus the front office manager or someone else who's responsible today. It's also time to review your entire response strategy. Revisit and establish your KPIs for reviews and surveys. You want to ensure that response deadlines and considering shortening the deadlines for COVID issues that relate to health and safety, particularly if they come through your in-stay survey while the guest is still on site and you have an opportunity to recover. In addition to revisiting deadlines, ensure that you determine which reviews take priority and develop a strategy that leverages your responses to steal market share. Templates can be used for both your survey responses and your online reviews. It's actually something we recommend highly so that it can keep consistency in your messaging and your branding. But if you're going that direction, super important not to sound robotic and to customize them to really respond to the specifics that are related to the consumer's comments. And lastly, if you're not already working with a platform that has an API to Google and Booking.com, where you can respond directly to those reviews, we highly recommend that you set that API up. It'll help you with speed and efficiency in your responses, especially while you're short on staff or combining jobs and wearing multiple hats. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of management responses and how you can maximize your response. This is an example of a positive review. And a good management response can help you win business and steal business from your competition. It's important in all of your responses to be transparent and honest. You don't want to take them too lightly. So if you see here on the left in this review, it was a positive review, but it's super templated and super generic with how they responded. This was a huge missed opportunity for the hotel to be able to really reinforce their protocols, welcome them back under better circumstances, and actually capitalize on that by using it to publish it online and pin to the top of review sites. So just giving an example of how we would envision the response to read, you can see from this example that it does all of those things. It's really a great opportunity, again, to reassure and reinforce that this hotel is a great choice for any guest who's looking to book you. On the reverse, here is a negative response and another significant missed opportunity from the management response. There was no apology. They missed the opportunity to be honest and transparent and highlight how the hotel has implemented new training plans to ensure their staff provides excellent customer service and is also equipped to ensure that guests feel safe and secure. This was an opportunity to use the response to reinforce that these are unusual times, admit wrongdoings, and welcome the guests back in happier times. So just a couple of examples, and now we'll talk a little bit about workflows and processes. Your surveys and reviews oftentimes call out guest needs that need to be handled across different departments in the hotel. If you're managing guest requests from different channels, for example, your surveys, your reviews, guests who walk by a housekeeper in the halls or the front desk, and they ask for something or point out something that they need. If you're using different systems or processes, it's going to be very difficult to streamline and ensure timely resolution. And of course, with the heightened sensitivity with guests around the new protocols, you've got to ensure that whatever processes you have in place, whether that is a technology solution or a manual solution, that you have a well thought out plan that includes reporting and KPIs to ensure that you meet your internal service standards and the guest requests in a timely manner. If you've not already revisited your workflows and processes, now's the time. You'll want to consider as you make adjustments to ensure that your hotel can confidently handle live and in-stay guest communications. You'll want to think about how are you going to streamline their requests with less staff? How are you going to ensure you meet their needs at the right time? And what are your deadlines and processes to ensure that the right department gets the right information to resolve the issues? Getting this right will help increase your likelihood of positive feedback, and that's what the end goal is, right? We want to really get positive feedback and leverage that information. So this is another slide from the Fuel Marketing, where they conducted a consumer sentiment study. And just to kind of share with you what kind of tech needs or what things they want to be communicated about. So these are the type of things guests want to hear about. I don't think there's a lot of surprises up here, but you know, looking at their what are they doing to protect guests? What type of specials and packages are being offered for future stays? What is the property doing to protect staff? How is the coronavirus affecting the local area? What is your response plan, positive stories, and more? So as you think about your marketing strategies and plans, keep in mind what they want to hear. In addition to understanding what travelers want to know about your hotel, it's also worth diving into the shift in consumption patterns. In a recent Hospitality Insights article, EHL Advisory Services discussed all the things we just talked about. So what is the new customer experience and what are the new customer perceptions? But they also highlighted the facts around the shift in consumption patterns. It's no surprise that through the pandemic, there has definitely been an increase in consumption of online and social content. And with the changes in the way people are consuming media and how they think about brands and hotels that they're going to do business with, if your hotel is not embracing this opportunity to build trust and confidence through online through customer feedback, you will definitely be at a disadvantage. Keep your guest perceptions in focus and include them in your marketing plans. And a lot of times, in fact, just this week, spoke to a couple of my friends and partners in the industry. And when we mention guest reviews, they think operations. And I have to keep reminding them that it's not just operations. While they may be the ones carrying out the task and really managing this process, this is absolutely a critical part of your marketing and positioning. Especially now, a lot of hotels are operating with little or no budget when it comes to marketing. And so the content that's online takes on a whole new lens. One of the things we recommend is consider implementing a market research survey for your existing guest database. Over the last few months, we've had an increase in our partners who are engaging with us to launch surveys to garner feedback on what their guests will be looking for specifically in light of COVID when coming to their property. In some cases, we've seen a reach out to their entire customer database through their CRM. In others, We've seen them segment out their database and do these research surveys to their loyalty guests or to some of the specific buying personas that their property is most suited for. So whether that's the family market or the drive-in market. If you take this approach, you want to make sure you're specific in your questions and leverage the results in your planning. Ensuring that you keep a pulse on guest perceptions as we move through the reopening phase and align the guest perceptions with the strengths of your property. This photo to the right is a little blurry, but what this is a business traveler taking advantage of a hotel's social lobby environment, which many properties invested thousands of dollars creating over the last year. So that's your property. You know, one of the things you would think about is how has my hotel transformed that space to provide social distancing and privacy, and how do my guests feel about that space now after they've experienced it? If this is a strength and a competitive advantage, which has been well received by your guests, this is something you absolutely could use as an advantage in your marketing. Additionally, staying in tune with what's going on with San Diego, what's open and available for guests nearby your hotel to enjoy in addition to the services that are offered at your property. Read reviews for those facilities. Make sure that they're something good that you want to include in your mentions, and take those into consideration when you include information about the local attractions in your guest communications. You basically want to make it really easy for travelers to find relevant information on both your hotel as well as the local area. And lastly, use the information that you're gathering from your reputation management to position your product and your brand correctly. You'll quickly learn from your guest feedback what you are delivering well on and what you still have shortcomings on. And with the sensitivity around the issues that COVID has brought up, it's so important not to overpromise on any features that your hotel that you are not confident that you can confidently deliver on. Timely communication. So this really talks about, you know, knowing that your guests want to hear from you and understanding that a lot of your hotels are operating with, again, lower or no marketing budgets. There's still an opportunity for you to market your property through your guest engagement platform at all stages of their journey. So for guests at the exploring phase, this can be accomplished by keeping your online content up to date on your COVID response plan, as well as ensuring, as we already talked about, a solid management response strategy for your online reviews. In the pre-stay process, leveraging technology to keep communication fluid and proactive. This can be accomplished in your confirmation and pre-stay messaging using your CRM or your guest messaging platform. While guests are on property, in addition to the obvious, the signage that you're putting into place, activating technology that provides instant communication and promotes social distancing, as well as maximizing the use of your in-stay survey tool can assist. And then post-stay, keeping your revising your post-departure surveys and continuously learning from your guest feedback how you can refine. So we'll go ahead and dive into the next section, our last section here, which is how can you take the guest experience to the next level? And I'll pause here for a minute and let you think about how does this picture make you feel? For me personally, it makes me really nervous, scared, and it's certainly not a place I want to be in the near future. And for those of you on the call, and I know there's quite a few people on this call who know me pretty well, I am not a person of fear. But this is not a place that I would want to be in the short term. Something we most certainly cannot see in our hotels. This is where technology can help your hotel to provide safety and comfort to your guests. So back to that survey we did in partnership with Fuel Marketing, we polled hoteliers to find out what type of solutions they were considering in contactless technology post-COVID. As you can see, high on the list are mobile self-service at 50%, so things that they shared with us from mobile check-in, mobile checkout, mobile ordering and payments, guest messaging at 49%, and a combined 26% are considering AI and chatbots. This is another external survey, and I don't think it's a surprise here either, but it was interesting. Other countries seem definitely far behind the US, but globally there's been a 45% increase in in-home media consumption during coronavirus. The study also found that this is applying across all age groups, even down to the baby boomers. So today, everyone is much more engaged in the digital experience than ever before. As we are now in the era of the new guest experience, very heavy in it, especially now that your hotels are opening, ensuring that your guest communications are clear and correct takes on a whole new meaning. We've already discussed what topics are most relevant to your guests and what they want to hear, and it's your responsibility to activate solutions that facilitate timely delivery of your communications. At the same time, you're challenged with operating efficiently with less staff, less time, and less in-person guest interactions. Solutions that your hotel implements need to be able to meet the new guest demands. They need to be quick to market and have a proven ROI. While budgets are tight, in some cases may even be non-existent, it's important to evaluate both the investment in technology that can facilitate your communication process, as well as how they will benefit your guest experience. How can technology accomplish repetitive tasks that were formerly handled by team members who are no longer there? This is a really hard one, right? I mean, we're in hospitality, and you know, people are the heart of what we do. But this is where we are and what's important and relevant now. And technology that improves your guest communications can also help you ramp up alternative revenue streams. Look at solutions that integrate with your existing solutions. That, for example, you know, does my messaging platform integrate with my mobile check-in or my mobile food and beverage ordering platform? And if so, how can I leverage that to drive incremental revenue sales through food and beverage or other outlets in my property? Seeking out solutions that automate processes and provide guests with contactless options, another very relevant topic right now. And using technology now more than ever will deepen the level of fresh insights into guest behavior. And the needs, as we know, are going to be continuously changing. Likely over the next 3, 6, 12 months, it will continue to evolve. And it's important that we have technology and reporting available to us that provides actionable data to help adapt our offerings and our messaging to our guests. So this is an image from the Board of Innovation. If you weren't aware, 2018, the Fly Zoo Hotel opened its doors in Asia with facial recognition technology, voice-controlled rooms, and staffed by robots. Now, while this is an extreme example, and I know me personally, I'm not quite there yet, and I'm thinking it's not very likely we'll see a hotel in the San Diego market anytime soon going to this length to embrace the low-touch economy. It's definitely thought-provoking. And as we saw earlier in the presentation, many hoteliers believe that our industry is permanently going to be changed after COVID. The low-touch economy is definitely characterized by low-touch interactions, health and safety measures, and new human behaviors. And it also represents a permanent shift in our industry. At the same time, I believe it represents an opportunity for each of you on the call today. So here, you know, how do we harness the power of mobile and really start to communicate with our guests in the ways that they're expecting? You know, post-COVID, guests are going to prefer more than ever using their own device to communicate with all departments in the hotel. This offers both the guests and your hotel an opportunity to be more flexible and accessible in how you communicate with them. And implementing a mobile-centric service solution will enable autonomy throughout the guest journey. It'll also support your social distancing initiatives and present you with an opportunity to redefine and enhance their experience. It's no longer just about convenience. It's now about meeting demands of the new guests and improving guest service and driving loyalty. So we're not going to do a full-on lesson on AI here, but I do think it's important as we're looking at technology solutions just to briefly start with, you know, what the concept of automation. This is definitely an area that is still slow to adapt, but can be very beneficial to you as you're planning, moving through this process with less team members and less budget. So this is the concept. The concept's fairly simple. It's using machines and computers to perform tasks with minimal or no human assistance. It's taking things that normally they're repetitive, and doing them with more efficiency, consistency, and reliability. A lot of these tasks are repetitive and come in and take up the time of your front desk for your front desk staff or your reservation staff. And it can be done by machines or computers and less expensive. It exists already today. I'm sure you're familiar with some of those options, both on the guest facing and the employee facing side. There's definitely examples of automation in your properties today, whether that's through your pre-stay messaging or your revenue management system and more. But a major focus of AI is data processing, and humans are limited in volume and speed in which they can process data, and do it in a very short amount of time. I know if you're like me, I love my Spotify and listening to music, and I love how it always gives me new examples of music to listen to based on my preferences, and that's what the power of AI in your operation can do. It will help you significantly. From a chatbot, just a quick overview, if you're not familiar, we're starting to see more, but it's still very lowly adapted over here. And it's just a computer program that is designed to simulate conversations with human users. Simple chatbot will provide answers to questions by matching the questions with predefined answers. And a more automated chatbot or advanced chatbot will use AI to learn and improve over time. And so when we think about this in the context of the guest, this was the result of a recent study on consumer behavior in the hotel industry by R. Morty, and he's a hotel marketing consultant. And in this study, he highlighted that 45% of customers don't care, hotel customers, they don't care if they're served by a human or a robot as long as they're served quickly. 78% expect constant communication and interaction across all departments. And 70% of guest requests are now handled automatically by AI. We all know we're in a 24/7 business, and what this slide points out is in that same study that 46% of the requests came in between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m., which is probably the time where you have the least bodies on site to be able to respond quickly to your guest requests. At the same time, looking at your budgets, this was a study from 2020, that fuel marketing study we did in partnership with them. And when we asked hoteliers the cost reduction strategies that they put into place, as I mentioned earlier, marketing, but a lot of staff layoffs, furloughs, reductions in pay, and in some cases, reduction in technology spend. So now more than ever, as you're looking at your strategy, your staffing levels, your budgets, what you can and what you can't do, it's really all about the savings and having to make hard decisions about how can I meet the new guest expectations efficiently and exceed them through technology. What you can see here is that the costs of some of the technology solutions are significantly less than a person. And again, hard message to deliver, being that hospitality is in my veins, but this is definitely where we are right now. And you may choose to implement something like this as a short-term strategy or become part of your permanent strategy. So AI, possibilities are endless. This is a busy slide, but just, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in our world. It's logical that it will become more a part of the hotelier's life. What we see here is that through our research with our partners, hoteliers all have the same issues, and guests always have the same basic questions. They expect quick responses. In this example, you'll see a chain of 30 city hotels stated that 63% of their emails and messages are the same 8 questions. And a larger chain with a larger spread of properties across the globe had 91% of their emails and messages for the same 18 questions. So one question for you to take back is, do you know what your distribution would be? We also found that they're asking the same basic questions that they already have in their email, that they already can find on your website or in your property guides. Everything from how do I get there, what time can I check in, what time is breakfast, to the new questions of what are your breakfast options, what are your safety protocols. And the capacity of your hotel teams are being used to answer these questions to just really transfer basic information, but yet that information is really important to the guest, as is the timeliness in the delivery of that information. So really what this slide is just pointing out is, that all phases of the customer journey, whether they're looking to book your property, whether they've already booked, they're getting ready to come, they're in property, or they've left your property. When you combine the power of automation and technology with your amazing staff, and you really ensure that you have a method and a process in place to communicate effectively with them throughout the journey, you'll have a very powerful results. The whole goal is to make sure that you're servicing them, meeting their new needs, and reacting quickly so that you can maintain your market position and a strong guest perception. So combining technology such as messaging, AI, and chatbots with your online reputation management of COVID responses will help you to manage this new guest experience and garner positive feedback, as well as build trust in travelers so that you can have more repeat guests and attract new guests. So I know that was a lot of information. I think I sped up at the end because I noticed the clock was ticking and we wanted to make sure we left some time for Q&A. So I will pause there and I believe stop sharing my screen. And I can turn the video back on here. And I believe we're turning it back over to you. Or Heather, do we have any questions that have come in through the chat?
I haven't seen any come through the chat yet, but we are happy to take questions. I know that was a lot of information to cover, but Jill, you did a great job in the amount of time we had. I think that it's important for everybody to look at those reviews and how to respond. And particularly, I liked the point of who should respond to what. At some point, should a GM come in and respond? And so I think that's good advice for everybody to look at. And also those kind of teaching and learning opportunities that you're finding even in negative reviews. So I appreciate that one. So if you would like to ask a question, I am going to go ahead and just keep us over here on the video screen. If you would like to turn your video on, you may. We've turned that option back. So if you have a question, go ahead and just unmute yourself and go ahead. No one has a question. Jill, you are so good. No one has a question. Okay, well, I guess if you do have a question, being as such, we talked so much about the importance of reviews and survey results. There will be a survey going out to everyone right after this. So please make sure that you do complete the survey. Kevin has a question here. I just saw, will we get the slides? Yes, those will get sent out to everyone probably tomorrow with the full recording. We recorded the entire program today, so you'll be able to get a copy of that. Since Constantine didn't get a chance to say anything though, and I've reminded you all to fill out your reviews and stay connected with us and come to our next events. Constantine, is there anything you want to add?
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. Jill, I think you did a great job. So I know we prepared and, we talked through all this. So A plus, I love it. I think that's great. You hit the nail on the head there. And, it all works out at the end of the day. We're in the hospitality industry and we have to stay together. And if you use the right tools that are available for you, whether you're a apartment hotel, whether you're a 5-star hotel, whether you're just a, bed and breakfast, you can use all kinds of tools out there that will essentially help you drive, RevPAR, will help you bring back those guests, will be able to assist in any way to, even if you are running 20 or 30% occupancy, how do you keep those guests happy? How do you keep those guests interacting and essentially say that, hey, I spent a great time at this so-and-so location and, I recommend that and I recommend you to go there. So use the tools you have, because we see not many people are decreasing their stack of technology, instead increasing it. So take a look and see what fits your needs and utilize that. So that's all I got.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. And that was a great little closing there for us. So anyway, like I said, everyone will get copies of the recording and the slides. And that will be sent out, I believe, like I said, tomorrow. And we'll have contact information for both Constantine and Jill. So if you do have any questions that you just didn't get to, or were afraid to ask in front of everyone, I'm sure that they would be happy to chat with you a little bit on the side. So,
yep, absolutely. And thank you again, and congratulations to everyone who has been able to reopen since the news came out last week. Good luck in your journey.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Stay in touch with us on our social to see all upcoming events and be able to register. And we'll see you all again very soon.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care.